Hey guys, it's Calvin and this is my clean, minimal, and dark iOS setup. And in this video, I'll show you guys what I use in my settings to get this really clean, really minimal look on my iPhone. It's kind of sleek, it is pretty clean, and I just love how minimal it looks. Now, do note I'm not using any jailbreaks, no hacking. All I'm doing is just adjusting iOS's default settings to try to get certain things to look certain ways. And in this video, I'll show you guys how I get this really sleek, really clean, minimal look by changing certain settings within iOS, such as color contrast, the text size, getting this wallpaper, rearranging the apps, and a few other things. Now, this is an iPhone 6, and I know in the tech world that is completely ancient, but honestly, I love this phone to death. It's been super reliable. I've had it for a very long time, and I just really enjoy using it. And it runs really well. I did have to change the battery on it a few months ago. I actually did it myself. But other than that, it's actually been pretty reliable. So I am running iOS 11, but the settings should be pretty similar to many other versions, previous or new. So here I am, I just reformatted my iPhone back to a blank slate. This is iOS 11, but a lot of the settings and features will be pretty similar to the other versions. And I'll go ahead and walk through all the settings and procedures and the wallpaper and everything else so you guys can follow along and try to get a setup that's pretty similar to mine. So the very first thing I'm going to do is actually change the font. I'm actually going to change the font size, and I'm also going to make sure bold text is turned off and the view is standard. So I really like small text size because it makes things a little bit more cleaner. If the text size is too big, it does look a little clustered, and I really like this clean, small font. So let's go ahead and do that. The first thing I want to do is go to settings, and when I'm in settings, I want to go down here to display and brightness. And when I'm here, I can go to this thing called text size. So here I can actually adjust the text size however much I want. I'm actually going to put it all the way to the left and make it as small as possible. This will just make all the text throughout iOS a little bit more cleaner, a little bit smaller, and I just really like that minimal look. So I'm going to go ahead and make the text size as small as possible and then go back one. And then we have this option to make bold text. If you actually want all your text to become bold, you can go ahead and turn this on, and iPhone will tell you, hey, I need to restart in order to apply this change. I personally don't like the bold text, but you can go ahead and try it, and if it fits your style, then go for it. And then finally, the last thing I want to do is go here to view, and here I can choose whether I want a standard view or a zoomed view. I personally do not like the zoomed view. It makes icons a little too big for me, but again, this is all about your own personal style. So I'm going to choose standard and just go back. Now the next thing I want to do is actually change the color contrast for the screen. So I'm going to go back to settings, and from here I'm going to go to general and then accessibility, and then scroll here to increase contrast. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and here I'm going to choose darken colors, and I want to turn that on. And what that's going to do is make the colors of the labels, of some of the text, a little bit more deep and rich, and I feel like I'm describing a very elegant ice cream, but bear with me. And you'll notice the very first change at the back button here. So if I go ahead and turn this off again, the back button becomes a little lighter, but if I turn it on, it makes the color a little bit more deep, a little bit more rich, and it provides really good contrast, especially behind really white backgrounds or really black backgrounds. Cool, so if I go back, I also like having these on and off labels on. And what that does is it lets me have these little switch icons as 1 or a 0 for all these switch options. So for an example, in button shapes, you see the little 0, that means it's off. If I turn it on, you see the vertical 1. And finally, I'm going to go down here to home button. And here I actually like having this rest finger to open on. So what this allows you to do is when you first wake your iPhone by clicking the home button, if you just leave your finger, if you're using Touch ID, it'll automatically unlock and bring you to the home screen. Whereas if this was turned off, you'd have to touch the Touch ID and then click it once more to bring it to home. So I like having it on. So now the keyboard. I actually like Apple's default keyboard, but I really like Swift's keyboard a lot more, and it gives you the option to choose different backgrounds and colors. And since we're going for more of a dark theme, Swift does allow you to change its background colors to many dark themes. So I'm actually going to head over to the App Store, and in the App Store I'm going to go ahead and search for SwiftKey, and it will be this option here, this SwiftKey keyboard. So I'm going to go ahead and download that. Great, so once I have SwiftKey installed, I'm going to go ahead and swipe to it, click on it or tap on it and just follow the instructions to get it set up. Now you will have to do a few things in order to get SwiftKey working on your keyboard. So you will need to go to settings, allow access to SwiftKey, and then go back and customize the keyboard. So once I'm back in my settings, I can actually scroll down here to general and then go down here to keyboard and then click keyboards at the very top and then hit add new keyboard. Now after you've installed SwiftKey, you can go ahead and click it and then select it here and then say allow full access. So once that is done, let's go back to SwiftKey. Now once all that's done, I can actually go here to design, and it has a lot of great different keyboard themes. And the one I like using is this minimal coal. It's a really nice black keyboard and it fits with our dark theme that we're going for. So now if you go somewhere to like Safari and you want to type in something, there is your SwiftKey. It's a really nice black background and it just fits really well with the theme. And not only that, but SwiftKeys allows you to swipe instead of having to click every button to type a word. So if I wanted to search for Apple, I can just swipe and hit Apple. You don't actually have to tap each of the key buttons, and that's really cool. All right, so the next thing I want to do is go ahead and change our wallpaper. So I am going to go to my Photos app, and I actually already have the wallpaper that I want for both my home screen and my lock screen. And I'll definitely leave the links to these two wallpapers down in the description below. So the first wallpaper is actually from iOS 8. It's a really nice, clean crescent earth wallpaper. And the second one is also a crescent earth wallpaper, and it was one that I found online. So I'll definitely leave the links to both of these wallpapers down in the description below so you guys have access to them. So the first thing I want to do is go to this first one, and I want to set this as my wallpaper. So I went ahead and selected the wallpaper, and then down here I'm going to say use as wallpaper, and I'm actually going to set this one to my home screen. And then I'll go to this second one and I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing, but this one I'm actually gonna set to my lock screen. And that's because I just think it looks a lot nicer on the lock screen. So there we go, our wallpapers are set and they look pretty nice so far. Now I'm actually gonna change my ringtone and my text tone. So I'm gonna go back into settings and then I'm gonna scroll down here to sounds. And under ringtone, I'm gonna scroll down here to either Signal or Silk. I really like both of them, so you can go ahead and choose whichever one you want, or of course any other ringtone. I'm gonna go ahead and choose Silk, and then go back and then choose our text tone. So for text tone, I actually like Aurora, so I'm gonna keep it at that. Great, so now I'm back into my settings. I'm also going to turn battery percentage on just because I like having my percentage shown on my battery indicator at the top. So we're back at settings. I'm going to go down here to battery and then click battery percentage on, and that will give me how much battery percentage I have remaining. And finally, I'm actually gonna reduce the motion because I really like the fade effects when I'm switching apps or going back to the home screen. But of course, you can choose whichever one you'd like. I'm back in settings. I'm gonna go to general, and then I'm gonna scroll here to accessibility, and then where it says reduce motion, I'm gonna go ahead and turn that on. So now I have these fade effects when I go and jump in between apps. Okay, so finally the home screen. Now, I actually like having a blank home screen here, and then all the apps that I use a lot more often, I like having on the second screen here, and then every other app I actually like having in a folder down here on the dock. So the very first thing I'm gonna start doing is actually placing these apps into a folder, and I'm just gonna go ahead and call that apps. So once I have that folder name, I'm actually gonna start moving all these apps into that folder, and I'll go ahead and fast forward this part. All right, great, so I went ahead and put all the apps on my iPhone into that apps folder, and I even took the apps off of the dock and put those into the apps folder. So now I just have one home screen. So what I'm actually gonna do here is bring this apps folder down into the dock and leave it there. Now the next thing is I'm gonna actually filter through these apps and figure out the ones that I use most often. And then those apps are actually gonna go onto the second home screen. So for an example, I actually use the App Store quite a bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag the apps folder out here onto the home screen. And you'll notice down here, there's two circles. What I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna hold this icon down and I'm gonna drag it to the right side of the screen until I see a third circle down at the bottom. And I'm just gonna go ahead and release that app there. So now this app is actually on a second home screen. So if I swipe and I go to my home screen, I don't have any other app on my home screen. So there you go. I actually put a few apps that I use pretty frequently down here on the dock. My home screen is completely blank. I have my Messages app. I have the Google app, which I actually use pretty often, and I really like it. And then I have my Settings app, and then I have my folder with all my other apps. Now if I swipe to the second screen here, this is the screen where I'm going to start populating all my apps that I use pretty frequently, and the other apps I'm just going to go ahead and keep in that apps folder. Obviously there's only one app there right now, but as I start using my phone, I will start populating this screen with those apps that I use pretty frequently. So now there's actually two more things I want to show you guys, little bonus tips. Since we are going for a pretty dark theme here, if you guys are Safari users, I'm going to go ahead and swipe to Safari, and now you guys can actually get Safari to look a little bit darker, at least the interface. And I'm going to do that by hitting this icon down here on the bottom right and selecting private mode. So now what this does is when you create a tab, it actually makes Safari a little bit darker. So that's pretty nice. Now the other thing was that crescent earth wallpaper, and the reason I put that other one back there at the lock screen was because when I turn my phone on or wake it, there's actually this really nice fade effect that happens, and it makes that wallpaper pretty cool to have on the lock screen. And I really enjoy seeing it every time I wake my phone. It's this really nice fade effect, and it just fits very well on the lock screen. So there you go, my clean, dark, and minimal iOS setup. So there you guys go. That is my clean, dark iOS setup that I personally love using. If you guys have any questions on anything I did in the video, go ahead and leave them in the comments below, and I will try to address them the best I can. And if you guys would like to see more videos like this, go ahead and leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hey guys, it's Calvin, and this is a crap. Hey guys, it's Calvin. Dang it. Okay, let's try it again. And in this video, I have no idea what I'm doing. Hey guys, it's Calvin, and this is a screen turned off. It's kind of... And if you guys would like to see more of this type, and if you guys would like to see more types, come on. And if you... Oh my goodness. Okay. And my fridge won't stop running. I better go catch it. That is so not original.